Hey, I know my hairline sucks, but it ain't my fault. It's my barber's fault. Leave me alone. Guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums. And today, as per schedule, I am going to talk about the top 50 worst albums of the decade. Yes, 50. And, oh my gosh. Just leave me alone. Alright, so because I want to offend as few people as possible, I'm not even gonna get into the dishonorable mentions. I'm just gonna start off with number 50, Skillet with Unleashed. If you want to listen to some really corny and cheesy Christian metal, look no further. And at number 49, we have High Suspect with MCID, basically a mainstream generic pop rock group coming out with this gigantic album. And if they're not ripping off Red Hot Chili Peppers, chances are they're ripping off Nirvana. If not, they're ripping off Foo Fighters. If not, they're ripping off Weezers. If not, they're ripping off Radiohead, and so on and so forth. But even though they're ripping off all of these artists on this album, they still manage to sound terrible and have terrible lyrics. I have no idea why. And then at number 48, we have Tove with Lady Wood. If you're interested in hearing Tove singing about her boner, Lady Wood, get it? You get it now? Lady friggin' Wood. And according to Tove on this album, every single male walking on this earth are sex machines. And yeah, I just don't want any of that twisted, distorted reality. And then at number 47, we have Kid Ink with Full Speed. If you're looking into some really generic pop rap that came out of early 2010s, here you go. And at number 46, unfortunately, maybe the guy's really nice. I have no idea. I've never met him, but Ed Sheeran, the Ginger Fury, with number 6 collaborations project. And it's no surprise that this album is gonna appear on this list because Ed Sheeran has always been, the has always been making some bland, watered down, annoying pop music. And this album, the collaborations project, we have some of the most whitewashed, gentrified, and boring pop songs I've ever heard this decade. We have this Latin flavored song, which is a little gross actually. We have this stereotypical London song featuring Stormzy, which is totally unnecessary. The cringy rock and roll ending to the album is really cringy as well. And then at 45, we have Skiiiwalker with Introverted Intuition, where the entire album is basically a bunch of interludes. Yeah. And at 44, yes, even though I have to admit, as far as mumble rap goes, he is probably one of the better ones out there. But seriously, I can't stand this album, and that is Lil Uzi Vert with Luv Is Rage 2. Every single track just feels like a really repetitive, mind-numbingly tedious mumble rap. Blah, blah, blah. And, EXO Tour Life is a good song. That's the only good song on the album. Anyways, at number 43, rest in peace, but the album is just very bad. I have to put it on this list, and that is Lil Peep's Hellboy. Yeah, I mean, it is really unfortunate that he had passed away, but before he passed away, he dropped numerous albums, and this is one of those, and it's this really annoying emo trap rap slash pop, maybe a little lo-fi. And while I kind of see why would Lil Peep want to go in this artistic direction, but the way it's executed, it's just so slick and clumsy and sloppy. It's really not good. And at 42, gotta give it to Madonna with Madam X. It really shocks me how far Madonna had gone from making some of the best catchy pop songs ever to this bullshit where essentially she makes a bunch of Latin flavored pop music and hop on the whole Latin flavored musical trend and make some of the most cringy, corny, whitewashed Latin flavored music I've ever heard in the year 2019. And plus, the incredibly annoying auto tune here just makes me want to faint. And at number 41, I'm sorry if I offend you, but it's Blade with Red Light, where Blade, I think a Swedish trap rapper, makes this album with his barely alive vocals. I guess you could say that the futuristic instrumentals on this album is a good thing, but it's the only good thing about this album because we have the mundane, boring, repetitious songs and the voice cracks that's just so obnoxious. The Number 40, I have to give it to one of the worst electronic albums of the decade, and that is Salem's King Knight, which has to be one of the most poorly produced electronic albums of the decade. It's so muddy, it's so sloppy, and not even in an intentional artistic way, just in an accidental way. And at number 39, I'm sorry to say this, it's incredibly unfortunate because he is one of the first few rappers that I've ever listened to, but it's Eminem with Revival. You have to admit how god awful of an album Revival is. Everything from the production to the songwriting is just terrible. Eminem with his obnoxious, angry, staccato flows, and then we have the very rough and very lazy sampling on this album. They literally slap an entire song on top of Eminem's rapping and call it sampling, and then we have the cringy ass puns about diarrhea and poop. This needs to stop. And then at number 38, we have 6 Feet Under with graveyard classics for Number of the Priest, where they essentially do a bunch of Iron Maiden covers, death metal covers, and it's terrible. The vocal sounds like Cookie Monster, and the guitar riffs are sloppy. They are completely ruining these Iron Maiden songs that are amazing. God, and at number 27, we have AFI with Burials, where we have a collection of really corny, fake deep, fake edgy pop rock songs that are actually just as cliche and as generic as you can imagine. And at number 26, unfortunately, another band, another artist that I originally really appreciate, but they have to just end off the decade with this album, and that is Blink 182 with 9. Again, pop rock, pop punk, that just sounds incredibly generic and cliche, except even worse in this case because every single song literally sounds the same. And in the lyrics, you would think that they're written by robots. They're so bad. And at number 35, gotta give it to Will Smith's daughter, Willow Smith, with Ardipithecus, where essentially she tries on some alternative, artsy R&B music, a little experimental, and as expected, it didn't turn out so well because of the very, very bad production here, the very bland, dry, withering instrumentals. Her vocals are pretty underwhelming as well, no matter how hard she tries to sing on the album. Very unfortunate. And at number 34, we have, what a great guy. I would love to hang out with this guy. And that is Desiigner with New English. Yes, again, Desiigner, he's this really happy, fun guy who doesn't talk doesn't speak English, but New English, He speaks in cursive. I really want to hang out with him, but unfortunately, this album, not only does every single song literally sound the same on this album, which are these very generic, very tedious, and redundant trap rap songs where he mumbles his way out, but also a lot of the production on these songs sound like demos. It's like Desiigner rushed this whole thing out. Anyways, at number 33, I am proudly giving it to Maroon 5 with Red Pill Blues, another band that used to be good but now ruined it with this stupid album where they realized that, hey, pop music is actually more popular than rock music now, so we have to make some cringy, crappy, mainstream, watered down novelty pop songs that are just so greasy and plasticky and fake, like synthesized fake. And we have songs like "Don't Wanna Know, No, No, No," and Adam Levine singing about how he wants to put his lips on a girl, like forcing his lips. Like, ugh. Anyways, at number 32, 303, Night Sports. If you want to be fed with cringy electropop music, with terrible accents, imitations, and songs about penises, and I guess meeting your crush in 7-Eleven, look no further. And then at number 31, we have Wale with Shine, with a collection of really bright, sugary, and actually straight up dumb pop music that has a slight rap edge to it. It's bad. And at number 30, I have to give it to Imagine Dragons with Origins. Again, they started out pretty okay. Their early stuff aren't great, but certainly not as bad as Origins. Imagine Dragons is now the most disrespected and the most notorious rock band of the world because their music is truly garbo, and Origins is the worst on their discography, where they make songs like "I'm a bad liar," "Hello, hello, I don't want to be a 0, 0." Yeah, I'm disappointed. They have potential, but they ruined it with this stupid album. Anyways, at number 29, gotta give it to my boy Logic. Did I have I told you that he's biracial? Oh my gosh, he's biracial. Yeah, that's a bit of an inside joke, but Logic has a lot of bad albums. But I'm gonna put Confessions of a Dangerous Mind here. But we all know that Supermarket is just as bad, where he attempts a bunch of pop rock indie folk music by ripping off every artist possible. But then we have rap albums like Confessions, where he just comes out with a bunch of boring, corny beats, come out with a bunch of corny bars, and try to rap fast, but really ends up sounding kinda toothless. Anyways, at number 28, we have Hopsin with Pound Syndrome. Hopsin, no matter how hard he tries to be serious and sort of deep, it always ends up with him sounding cringy AF. Especially him making songs like Happy Endings, one of the worst songs of the decade. But essentially, you have Pound Syndrome, where he just comes out with a bunch of fake, deep, fake woke lyrics with some hardcore hip hop that very eerily resembles Eminem's music. He tries to attack modern mumble trap rap music by saying that they're dumb, they're so silly, and they're so mindless, but at the same time, he's making some of the dumbest and most mindless tracks there are, not only in hip hop, but of all times. Anyways, at number 27, we have Lil Dicky with Professional Rapper. And again, similar to Hopsin, Lil Dicky is a bit of a comedic rapper, but he has enough of it. You know, he just has enough of it. So he wants to show people how serious and how professional he is by making this stupid ass album where he probably tries too hard, but even so, he still sounds really amateurish and unprofessional on this album. The beats, the lyrics, they are all very under average and not very professional, I have to say. And again, a few cringy moments here and there, a few corny moments here and there, a lot of cliches on this album. Basically a wasteland. And then at number 26, we have Nav with Bad Habits, where Nav comes out with nothing. He comes out with literally nothing on this album. Actually nothing. Like a void. It's like an abyss where nothing happens. It's supposed to be trap rap, I guess, but his vocals are nearly non-existent. The beats are so faint and so quiet. They probably don't exist. The instrumentals, they're not really there. So as a result, we have nothing. This album is nothing. And at number 25, Cringe Fest. Total cringe fest. Antwoord with Mount Ninji and Da Cool Kid. Yes, I'm not kidding. That is the title of this album, Mount Ninji and Da Cool Kid. And this is the cringiest album I've ever heard in this decade, where they sing very passionately over these loud, dramatic instrumentals and squawking dubstep beats about boobies and ass. The rap performances here are infuriatingly bad, and the baby vocals here, I really want to unplug my ears every time I listen to those baby vocals. Still though, maybe they're nice, maybe they're a bunch of nice guys, but well, one nice guy and one nice woman, but still, this album's cringe. It's cringe. 24. Chris Brown, Heartbreak on a Full Moon. If you want 2.5 hours of Chris Brown, Heartbreak on a Full Moon. And yes, not only is this album unnecessarily long, but also, who the fuck still listens to Chris Brown's music after what he had done? And you know what? Let's separate the art from the artist. We still get a bunch of really mainstream, generic, migraine-inducing R&B music that just falls flat on its own face. And at number 23, we have will.i.am or will.i.am with hashtag willpower, where we get a bunch of bombastic, loud, noisy party songs, and it sounds like those, early 2000s party rave songs where everybody's just dancing to the beat, party of life. Seriously, the singing, the rapping, they're hilariously terrible on this album. The production, I don't even want to talk about it. And at number 22, we have Uffie with Sex, Dreams, and Denim Jeans. Uffie, you by listening to this album, you can tell that she's not a musician. She's not really a professional musical artist. She can't sing. She can't rap. She can barely sing on key or rap on beat. And she needs to cover her vocals with layers upon layers of autotune, and she still sounds terrible with all that autotune. What's the point of this album? Why does this album exist? I have no idea, but all I can say about this album is that it is absolutely obnoxious. It is so annoying, and I can barely stand some of the songs here, from the very crappy ballads to the very loud, pummeling party dance tracks. They're all crappy. And we have Jaden Smith at number 21 with the Sunset Tapes a cool tape story? I'm a little confused here because I'm struggling to find anything cool about this mixtape. Maybe it's cool. Maybe it's too cool. Because this mixtape has to be one of the most boring mixtapes I've ever heard this decade. I mean, some of the songs here, they're devoid of any beats. Jaden Smith's just crooning all over it, and the instrumentals is nearly ambient. And Jaden Smith returns with his fake woke, fake deep bars, and trying to imitate, Brockhampton and Drake and maybe a little Kanye. Yeah. Where's the originality? I can't really find it. Anyways, here is the top 20. At number 20, I'm giving it to AJR with The Click. AJR making some very light-hearted pop rock music for millennials. They're making music for millennials. And according to AJR, living as a millennial is extremely easy. If you're sad, it's cloudy and rainy. If you're happy, it's sunshine and rainbows and unicorns. Listening to AJR is like going to Disneyland, except there's nothing fun about that Disneyland. AJR's music is infuriatingly shallow, and the songs on The Click is infuriatingly unoriginal and offensively terrible. They really run out of song ideas on this album, coming out with these terribly produced, terribly performed tracks, trying to appeal to millennials but falling flat on its face. And at number 19, I guess you can say that this might be an even worse electronic album, and that is various artists' Star Wars Headspace. Yeah, essentially we have a collection of tracks, electronic tracks inspired by Star Wars, and why? What's the point of all this? What's the point of all this? I really don't know, because all of the tracks here, they're corny, they're bad. They sound like bad movie soundtracks, and it's not even really all that Star Wars themed. And all these Star Wars themed sound effects here are so forced. It's actually hilariously bad. Anyways, at number 18, I have to give it to the Ting Tings with sounds from Nowheresville. So, pop rock, the Ting Tings. This album, bad. And it's a good thing that this album has a variety of different tracks, but they're all terrible in their own way. We have ballads that make you cringe because it's too melodramatic, but then we have these cool jams that sound really dumb and unnecessary, and then we have these witty, sassy rap songs when it's just nursery rhyme with a bit of aggression, and it's kind of cringy. Anyways, at number 27, I'm stupid. At number 17, we have the Chainsmokers with Memories. Do not open. Just open? No, do not open. No open. Close. This album is better closed. That's right. If you've been following my channel, you know how much I dislike their music and how much I like to talk shit about their music. The Chainsmokers, man. Every time someone plays a Chainsmokers song, I just want to pluck my eye out. So we have it's similar to AJR. The Chainsmokers make music for the millennials, it makes music for people who ask their mom to pay for their concert tickets. They make music for people who calls their friends on the phone and go, I really miss you, and I just broke up with my boyfriend, and I really want to party and drink. The emotions on this album run as deep as a kiddie pool, and the music on this thing, they all of the songs here, they're written in 3 notes. 3 fucking notes. Bam, 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 bam. Why? Why? Anyways, at number 16, we have John Frusciante with PBX Funicular Intaglio Zone. What kind of album title is that? What kind of album cover is that? Is this MS Paint? I have no idea. But John Frusciante kind of goes experimental on this album, where he comes out with these demo quality, genreless tracks, and for each of the tracks, he slaps a breakbeat on top, and with the same speed, with the same loudness, with the same tone, a breakbeat, and it's hilariously terrible. Like, why does every single song on this album have to have a breakbeat? Like, it can be a very slow and dreary song at first, and then suddenly this breakbeat just comes out of nowhere, and I'm just kind of confused. Like why is there a breakbeat? Anyways, at number 25, 5, we have Iggy Azalea with the new classic. It is the new classic. I guess in an attempt to stay relevant, she came out with a bunch of rap songs with some of the worst performances and worst instrumentals and worst beats I can ever find. Let's start with her performances. Her vocals, they're annoying, and they, I don't know what's with his voice, but it's no thank you. And then we have the instrumentals here, which at most of the times on this album try to be very motivational and larger than life, but with lyrics about sex and partying. It just doesn't fit. It just doesn't make any sense, and all it ends up sounding is cringy. It's cringy. And then at number 24, I guess even cringier would be Lil Yachty with Teenage Emotions, actually tied with Nothing to Prove. But both albums are equally as terrible in my opinion. Some of the worst bars. Again, the performances. He's a mumble rapper, and sometimes mumble rap can be pleasant, but it's just there's just something with his voice. The lyrics like blow me like a cello, because Lil Yachty thought a cello is a recorder or a clarinet or some sort of woodwind, but I don't understand. And nobody said anything when the song came out. When the producers heard it, nobody said anything. Blow me like a cello, and it actually came out. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe the people in the studios, maybe the people in the record label, were intentionally trying to troll Lil Yachty's ass by allowing this song to come out, and now it's this meme. I kind of feel bad for Lil Yachty, to be honest. But still, that being said, the albums, they're boring, they're very effortless, they're very low quality. Anyways, at number 13, we have Gunna with Drip or Drown 2. This album gives me migraines. I listened to this album, and I had a headache. I had a very bad headache after listening to it. Firstly, this is one of the most boring albums I've ever heard this decade, up there, or more like down there with Nav's Bad Habits and that Lil Yachty album, Nothing to Prove. But I guess more than that, what the hell is wrong with the instrumentals here? Like at the last track, Gunna tries to fuse Chinese, like classical Chinese music with a trap beat. I don't know why, and it doesn't work. Of course, it doesn't work. It sounds like shit. And this song still came out. I don't know why. And there are still numerous other terrible beats here with head scratching production choices and Gunna's very sleepy, just drooling, just saliva coming down the corner of his mouth performances. He's half asleep while recording this album. Anyways, not as asleep. We have at number 12, Vic Mensa, or in this case, his punk rock, edgy, emo alter ego, 93 Punks, with the self-titled album 93 Punks, where he fuses rock, like punk rock, with hip-hop to come out with a set of cringy tracks. The fist fight song where he screams about having a fist fight in a parking lot, or that other song, or where I mean, he comes out with some of the tracks with good intentions. Like he's talking about how some kids are being separated from their family in these detainment camps, and he's coming from a good place. But really, the music on this album, I just can't stand it. They're just so cringy. They're just so cringy. And he's not even really all that good in, I guess, singing. So whenever he sings, it's like my eardrums are tearing apart. And the rock music, the guitar riffs here, they're really just cheap, and I don't know why. Because mixing rock music and rap music together actually takes a lot of skill. Not many artists can do that. So when someone like Vic Mensa tries that, it's really not a good idea. Anyways, at number 11, even worse of an idea, it's Broken Side with Will Never Die. Yeah, at number 11 again. Broken Side, they're better forgotten because the music they make is crunk core. They make crunk core, where they come out with these super loud, noisy, bombastic, electro rap songs, and they're so cringe. Like, weren't they aware of how cringy they are when they're writing and recording these songs? Like, you have to be kidding me. And all of them are partaking in this loud rap and rock. Essentially, we have a combination of these loud emo screams, these pounding electro beats, and these really corny rap bars. And as you can imagine, it sounds like a hot mess. It sounds terrible, but actually it's even worse than imaginable. So go check it out. Anyways, here are the top 10 worst albums of the decade. Unfortunately, I have to place XXX Tentacion with 17 at number 10. I actually kind of have to tie it with Bad Vibes Forever. But 17 is an album released when he's alive, and Bad Vibes Forever is a posthumous album. And for the latter, it's straight up grave robbing, and it is incredibly disrespectful to X. I think these songs are not released for a good reason, because they're terribly produced, and X is barely present on these songs. The beats, they are demo quality, they're lazy, and I have no idea why the record label would want to exploit X's name to come out with music. But apparently they want to do that. And then we have 17, which is also a really short, very brief album where X tries to be edgy, because a lot of the tracks here are somewhat emo folk, but also at the same time hip hop. And the album literally starts off with an intro where X is warning its listeners, like, if you're not mentally prepared, don't go into this album, because this album, it's fucked up. But what comes after is a bunch of lo-fi, low quality emo folk music, and it's just very, very underwhelming. A lot of the songs here are demo quality, the bars are subpar, the production is underwhelming, and again, I'm really sad that X had passed away, and in such a tragic way as well. I mean, it's just not right for X to pass away like this, and definitely not right for the record label to exploit X like this. Anyways, at number 9, we have Lil Wayne with Rebirth, where Lil Wayne tries on some rock music. Yes, it's another one of those rap rock fusion albums like that Vic Mensa album, and it's even worse. It sounds even more terrible because at least Vic Mensa has its own moments where the guitar riffs are somewhat tolerable, but none of the guitar riffs on this Lil Wayne album is tolerable. They're all sloppy. The very sloppy nasal performances are there. The very crappy songwriting, the tedious, the redundance, it's there, and it's a really hard to stomach, difficult to listen album. Anyways, at number 8, I have to give it to Planning to Rock with W. A lot of you don't know what this album is, and I'm happy that it is nearly forgotten because it is so bad. This album is pretty much erased from the memories of everyone on this planet. But I have to bring it up once again because I have to do this list because this album is wow. Like going into the album, I didn't expect this album to be this terrible, but it is that terrible. Sonically, it is it hurts. It hurts to listen to this album. We get these very clunky, clanky, rock solid, brick solid instrumentals here. The keyboards, the squawking synths, and then we get the performances, the very crappy, fake, poetic, fake, edgy lyrics that really don't sum up to anything but cringe. Planning to Rock. More like L. Anyways, at number 7, we have Lil Xan with Total Xanarchy. In the late 2010s, we have wave upon waves of low effort trap rap, mumble rap albums, and amongst all of them, this is the worst. This is the absolute fucking worst. And yeah, it's basically all the bad qualities of bad mumble rap, trap rap albums all accumulated into Total Xanarchy, and then 3 times, just 3 times worse. Lil Xan looks like unseasoned chicken breast on this album cover, and he sounds like a door creaking. Annoying, repetitive, brain-dead lyrics, very dumbed down, watered down, nearly non-existent instrumentals, and again. Anyways, at number 6, Nostalgia Critic, The Wall. So Doug Walker, not even a musician, who is actually a critic in YouTube who criticizes movies and you know, his content back then, it's kind of fun. It's a little dumb, maybe a little cringe, but it's intentional. It's supposed to be, you know, kind of out there, kind of crazy, and, you know, kind of dumb. But I guess after some time, you know, after the allegations and all that stuff, he decides to criticize Pink Floyd's The Wall, and instead of you know, actually saying some good legitimate points about why he dislikes Pink Floyd The Wall, which is weird to begin with, because I don't know that many people who dislikes this album. I mean, it's just so great. It's a widely, commonly recognized masterpiece, but apparently Doug Walker is just not a fan of it, and he decided to make an entire parody album to mock Pink Floyd The Wall, to a point where it's not fun anymore. It's kind of disrespectful, and not even out of, freedom of criticizing. It's more like out of arrogance, out of ego. And he even teams up with Rob Scallon, who actually does a pretty faithful reinterpretation of the guitar riffs on Pink Floyd The Wall, but it's Doug Walker's very brain dead vocal performances, the absolutely humiliating lyrics that are not funny but straight up stupid, that makes this album such a disgrace to Pink Floyd The Wall, and such a disgrace to music in general. One of the stinkiest moments in music, I have to say. Yes, while I hate this album, it's a very lazy album, so I don't want to put it into the top 5, but here we are. 5 of the worst albums of the decade. At number 5, I have to give it to Chance the Rapper with The Big Day. Unfortunately, maybe he's a great guy, but certainly this is not a great album at all. Chance the Rapper finally coming out with a full-length debut studio album. Everybody's waiting for that. And he comes out with 77 minutes of I love my wife, I love my wife, where he actually talks about his wife and his marriage and his daughter every 50 seconds on this album. And there are a lot of tracks here, tracks that are demo quality, that I don't think should be released, but are released anyway. And now we have 1.5 hours of I don't know what is this. I don't know what is this. The Big Day. And there are tracks here that are just very boring, very slow, dreadfully so. And then there are tracks here that are just straight up cringy. Tracks here that Chance the Rapper thinks that he can pull off, but of course he can't, because he just doesn't have the skill, the talent, the preparation, the experience. Tracks like Hot Shower sounds like a middle school cafeteria rap battle. Tracks like I Ain't Single No More is this really dumbed down, annoying, absolutely repetitious and watered down hip house track. And there are even some gospel tracks here that just don't fit into the track list at all. And then we have the lyrics. They're constantly bad. They're consistently terrible and cringy. We have the puns here. We have the skits here, which are annoying. We have the vocals, which are just screeching, and they're annoying as well. Yeah, it's a terrible album. Anyways, at number 4, we have Kid Cudi, Speed and Bullet to Heaven. Originally I'm gonna put it at number 3, but Kid Cudi is a fantastic person. He's a really down-to-earth and creative person. He legitimately has talents. He has potential, but he decided to make this album in a very terrible mental state when he is suffering from some very serious mental issues. But he still forced himself to make music, and it results in this very, very horrendous rock rap, actually straight up rock, just grunge rock, artistic exploration. And it sounds like he had lost his mind. It really sounds like he had lost his sanity on this album, and not necessarily in a good way, but in a way where every single thing, from the production to the guitar riffs, from the vocals, are all really sloppy, really coarse, and really, really hurt to listen to. I mean, if you're suffering from serious mental problems and are in a very seriously bad mental state, please just take a rest. Don't force yourself. Don't force yourself into making music. Don't force yourself to record music, and just take a rest, and just try to put your mental health at first as priority, instead of putting music as your priority, because you got to respect yourself. You got to take care of yourself and your own mind. The result of this album, the very cringy Beavis and butt head skits, not good. the very crappy, repetitious, muddy guitars on this thing, terrible. The vocals on this thing, not good, and everything else about this album is either boring, or just straight up nonsensical. Unfortunately, at number 3, I have to give it to Miley Cyrus with Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets. Miley Cyrus, former Disney star, now turned into this girl who's trying to be sexy and wild and zany and crazy, coming out with this long-winded surprise album, and every single track is terrible. I get that she's trying to be a little more experimental, but really, most of the tracks here are straight up gross, straight up disgusting. And I know that sex sells. Again, Miley Cyrus loves sex. She is a horny ass girl. I understand that, but the very graphic and not sensual lyrics on this album make sex a gross, disgusting thing. Like, Miley Cyrus managed to do that on this album. And then we have the very experimental tracks that are not even 2 minutes long. They're very brief, and they really don't sound like anything other than a crappy mess, and you have no idea why would Miley come up with all these tracks. And yeah, the very terrible singing performances are annoying. The lyrics are offensively cringy. The instrumentals, I'm not even gonna talk about that. Everything about this album really went to the wrongest direction possible. And at my number 2 spot, the second worst album of the decade, Farrah Abram, My Teenage Dream Ended. And this is a pretty special pick because a lot of people, including Anthony Fantano himself, put this album as one of his favorite albums. And at first, when I see that it is at his number 200 best albums of the decade, I was a little confused too, but I guess he put this album there because it's so bad it's good. But even though it's so bad it's good, you still have to admit it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so terrible. Farrah Abram, who got famous for being a teen mom, decided to make 5 reality TV shows and come up with a book and come up with this electronic album. And every single thing about this album is straight up one of the worsts of the decade. The vocals here, they are nasal, they are slimy, and there are auto-tune on top of her vocals, but I guess she really can't keep a key, so even with auto-tune, she still sounds absolutely terrible and nightmarish. We get these pounding beats and these crazy loud air horns completely overshadowing her vocals for some reason. The instrumentals are nearly non-existent, and every time they're on, they are sloppy. They are terribly weird and strange, and I really want to throw up listening to this album. It is truly a masterpiece. It is just terribly bad. I was laughing my ass off from front to back while listening to this album. Like, I just don't know why. She's not a singer. She's not a musician. She has no experience in making music. She was pregnant before she was 18, and she decided to make an album out of it. I really don't see the reasoning behind this album, and I really don't understand why does this album exist anyway. And at number 1, you know what this album is gonna be. You know what it's gonna be. It is Corey Feldman, Angelic to the Core. Angelic Funkadelic, Angelic Rockadelic. That is the full name of the album. Oh my gosh. This This album is, it's so terrible, it's so bad. It's a classic. It's a straight up classic. I'm actually impressed with how bad this album is. This album pushes the boundaries of bad music. I mean, yeah, I mean, bad music, everybody can imagine it in their heads, but nobody can imagine this. This is straight up otherworldly. This is so bad. It's unprecedentedly bad. Inhumanly bad. Not a single piece of music in this world, in the entire timeline, is this bad. I am actually impressed. Like you can't make something this bad accidentally, okay? You have to be a friggin' genius to make something this terrible. But Corey Feldman, crown jewel, the worst singer songwriter ever. Every single track here, okay, they're different. Every single track sounds different. It is a double album, 22 tracks, okay, and we have everything from pop to rock to electronic to folk to funk, to dance to soul to disco, to jazz. Uh, and all of these genres of music and all of these styles of music, all the way from like 50s to the 90s, all of them just crashing into one another into 22 very monstrous, disgusting, barely functioning Frankenstein hot messes. And throughout the whole thing, the lyrics, they're so bad, plus the god awful production here. uh you can't actually listen to the lyrics because the beats, the instrumentals, they're so loud for some reason. They completely covered Corey's vocals, and whenever Corey's singing, he's doing this Michael Jackson impression, and it's how what what is this album? Snoop Dogg is on this album. Fred Durst is on this album, for God's sake. We have tracks here where Corey Feldman's just brah, 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 brah. And we have tracks, we have skits here. There's a narrative throughout the whole album, and this narrative is basically this team of angels is trying to save the world from hellfire, I guess, and Corey Feldman is the leader of the team of angels, and he's like, angels, are you ready to save the world? And the angels are like, duh. And like they don't make sense. Nothing in this album makes sense. Not even the skits, not even the features, nothing. Every single moment in this album are insanely and inhumanly bad. But yeah. Dude, lickety splinky. I can go on forever talking about this album. I can go on forever, but this is the worst album of the decade, possibly the worst of all times. Look at the album cover. It's not even properly cropped. Yeah. These are my least favorite albums of the decade. What are yours? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.